Hello and happy Tuesday, everyone. It's good to be back with an episode of Party Chat because we have been away for a little while. January was off to a bit of a rough start. There was a death in the extended family, and then I got super ridiculously sick, and then my dog had to go to heaven. So it's good to be back and have some fun stuff to talk about. And so let's go ahead and bring on the panel. We got my trusty sidekick, Carl. How's it going, Carl?
I didn't know your dog passed away.
Yeah, it was his time.
Aw.
He went to heaven on Saturday. It wasn't unexpected because it was we did make an appointment, but it was his time. He was not doing too good, so it was a rough weekend, and I miss him. But yeah, hopefully February is going to be better than January was. Glad to be back. Talk video games. I know Ryan's had a bit of a tough start to the year as well. I don't know any of the details. But he'll be here. He just said he's going to be a little bit late, but glad you're here to kick off. Not the first one of the year, since we did have one right at the beginning, but good to be back with some party chat. How was February going for you so far?
I became the CEO of Rumble, so pretty good.
Ooh, nice step up.
Yes.
So, and due to the craziness, I didn't have anybody lined up for a guest host, and it was basically just going to be Carl and Ryan and I, which have only had one party chat so far that didn't have a guest, and that's because he had to bail last minute, and because everyone I reached out to either couldn't make it or never responded, and so I reached out to Kay like 2 days ago. I'm like, hey, by any happenstance, would you be able to join us for party chat on Tuesday? She's like, yeah, I can make it. So thank you for Kay for coming in clutch and saving the day.
Always.
The real MVP.
My internet.
Thanks for contacting me last. I'm just teasing you. I just wanted to make you uncomfortable. I am really sorry. I'm really sorry to hear about what happened to you in January, though. I know it's been super rough. And hey, you know what? January always sucks for some reason. It's just like the month everyone's depressed after the holidays, and it's a rough recovery. But we're in February now, and I think it's going to be good. So, my heart goes out to you, obviously, for what you're dealing with this weekend. It's awful, but I think it'll get better.
Yeah. So, but glad you're able to make it. And this is the first time, not your first time on Party Chat, but the first time where you are the sole guest host, because you've been on twice before, but it was with James.
Oh, yeah,
and then
true.
the last time was last Valentine's Day when we had the ladies special.
Oh yeah, that was so fun.
So
I love the ladies special. It was good.
No, so this first one with Kay is the sole guest host. So glad you were able to come on and talk some more video game stuff. So, and then Ryan will join us whenever he is available. So, and I saw that James said hi in the chat before. He said, have a good show while I'm busy with based anime high school girls, because he's streaming Class of 09 right now, or is about to. And I know absolutely nothing about that game other than I guess it's high school anime girls.
I'll give you the super quick summary of it. Class of 09. Imagine those girls in high school that were like the Valley girls, like, oh my God, no way. I'm not going to swear, obviously, but oh my God, no way. Let's do this. Oh my God, let's go to the mall. It's that, but in a visual novel, essentially. And it's great. And all of us fell in love with this. We did it for like a gifted games gallery for 1 hour. And we're like, we need a full playthrough of this game. This is just so good. It's peak cinema. So that's what it is. It'll remind you of the good old high school days before emo girls went extinct in malls. So
yes, I graduated in 09, so it brought me right back to high school again. Even with the excessive drug use, I was like, I'm back home.
She's doing Percocets.
Hey, Paul's here as well, saying yo. What's up, Paul?
Yo.
Good to see you as always. Hope you're doing well tonight. So, well, before we get into our topics, I'd like to go around the horn and ask everyone what they've been playing lately. So, Kay, what have you been playing lately?
Been bouncing around a few things. Anyone who watches our channel knows that James is forcing me to play Marvel Rivals to help him with his dailies right now. So a lot of my game
still
time
doing those, even though he got all the achievements, which I'm very impressed and proud of him for getting.
I
all
know
the
you would
game.
be You would be proud of him for this. Me, it was exhausting, sir. I had to play characters I didn't want to play for hours on end. And then we would be like counting down. Like there was this achievement we had to do where like as Captain America, he had to get 3 kills within like a certain window, like a matter of seconds. And so he's like, you have to play Groot and you have to time your ultimate at the same time as my ultimate and aim it in a way that everyone's clustered so we can get them all at the same time. And it took hours. That was miserable, but we did it. So
You're a trooper.
it's a game that I'm not even like super into or anything, but you know, if somebody needs help with their achievements, I'm gonna help them even if I hate it. So
Interesting.
that's what we've no. I don't want to encourage you to not have to deal with him enough. Maybe. Depends on the game.
Come help me boost achievements, Kay.
Maybe. It depends. But yeah, so we've been playing that and I'm a Hulk main and I like running around and smashing stuff, but otherwise, you know, the game's not bad. That takes up a lot of my gaming time these days, honestly, because the dailies refresh at like 1 a.m. every day. So I hop on with them every night. But other than that, gaming of my own will, I can talk about. I've been playing a little bit more Pokemon Coliseum when I can, and that's been fun. And I'm almost at 20 Pokemon Purified, which is exciting. I'm getting there.
No idea what that means, but sounds cool.
Pretty much with Pokemon, usually you're like, you know, you go through the random encounters. I mean, I know Carl knows because he's also a big Coliseum fan, but usually you go through your random encounters. But with this one, it's the fights are set, and the whole point is you're purifying the Pokemon instead from being shadow Pokemon. So it's a little more on rails, I would say, than usual because you don't deal with the random grass. But I love Pokemon Coliseum for just how edgy it is and fun. The story is unique. The villain is like a hoot. I love them dancing around. So, yeah, I've been playing a lot of Pokemon Coliseum. And then the other game I've been playing is The First Descendant. Right now, I am grinding to unlock Luna, which takes a lot for anyone that plays that game. So I'm just in a endless looter shooter loop right now. And of course, you guys know me. I'm always playing Dead or Alive in some way, shape, or form. So I am currently grinding DOA 6 in excitement for Prism coming out next month.
Prism?
Yes, it's a dating DOA game. So
there's
it's 6
that
girls.
One. I haven't seen anything, but I heard that it exists or it's about to exist.
Yes, March 27th. I'm counting down the days, and yeah, you get to just date the girls this time instead of doing the volleyball and all that nonsense. I don't even know the full details yet because they've only shown us so much. But it seems like it's focused just purely on the dating, so they're kind of stripping everything else away from the game. And I'm excited because I just love Dead or Alive, so I'm gonna jump in.
I know how much you love Dead.
Yes, I got that pre-ordered as well.
Yeah, let's go.
And
I'm excited for Hanukkah.
And
you're excited for Hanukkah? That's what it sounds like you said.
We just
you're gonna spend some girls on a date with the girls.
Valentine's Day, not Hanukkah.
Well, okay, I could have a better Japanese accent, go Honoka, but like I don't have that, so I'm
Hanukkah.
Yeah, when some people talk, like I gave James crap out on Steam Roulette the other night, and I was like, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure it's not pronounced that way. If I had to guess, it would be Hanaka. Would be my guess.
It's Honoka. I don't know. I can't do it.
It's Hanukkah. She goes oy vey when you get something wrong.
Look, we got Angry Canadian in the chat. You can tell us how to pronounce it because there's no way it's happening for me. So
yes, let us know about the special Japanese girls who are also Jewish.
So, and before we get too far off topic, Kay, Pokemon Coliseum does have an achievement set. Wink, wink.
Oh no!
Oh, so you're gonna play it?
Yeah.
Just because have an achievement. No, I think he was asking me.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You should do it.
Yeah, I'll be your guide. If we could do like Dude Souls.
Like I said, Carl's a really big fan of Pokemon Coliseum. You should consider.
I'm a big fan of Pokemon in general.
If I had someone to guide me through it, I'd be open to it.
Coliseum is cool because unlike building your own team by like just kind of always going with the chalk, you have to actually think about what your team's going to be because you have a limited number of Pokemon you can pick from.
Okay.
Yep. I quite like it. You should consider it, Neo, and I always encourage you to achievement hunt any GameCube games just because I'm biased and I love the GameCube.
Yes.
It doesn't.
Good system.
It's the perfect console.
It really is.
And then, so yeah, I saw a couple other people show up in chat. Flame Mage is here saying, "Hey, what's up, Flame Mage? Good to see you."
Hello, Flame Mage.
James is currently squeezing in a match of Marvel Rivals before Class 09. And Canadian's here as well. What's up? Saying my bad, I'm late. We just started. So Canadian. since you're the expert, how is the DOA girl's name pronounced? I say it's Hanaka, and everyone else is saying Hanukkah. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure it's not Hanukkah.
Who's everyone else? I didn't even say anything.
That's everyone else who I've heard pronounce her name has said it that way, and I'm like, I highly doubt that is how it's pronounced.
My guess it's Honoka or something because it's Honoka. Honoka, probably.
James says, I don't even know what Pokemon I would Neo would enjoy me. The one Pokemon game I did play and I did have fun with it was Pokemon Pinball. And
Why am I not shocked by this one?
I did catch I think I caught almost everything in that one. But it wasn't even mine. I borrowed it from a friend. So, hey, Nightmares here. I keep forgetting Neo is not bald. Yeah, nope, I am not bald. I just wear a hat.
Why did you think you're bald?
Because I wear a hat almost all the time.
Pronounced Quantum.
I guess. I never assumed you were bald at all. This guy just
Honaka.
So
that's how you're saying how you say it.
Honaka.
There are a few streams of me not wearing a hat. A couple open mics, a couple top fives. Just not very often. Honaka.
We was ninjas.
Okay.
That's what James is saying. Her name is.
So yeah, there you go. Angry Canadian says Honaka. Thank you, Angry Canadian. Honaka. All right. So, all right. What about you, Carl? What have you been playing lately?
Pokemon Crystal as part of that gaming challenge. I'm trying to work my way through the entire Pokemon series for massive points. That's the one that I've been kind of playing off and on. I'm on the 8th badge right now, so I just got to get there. So I'll be done with that soon. And I also started the original God of War.
Nice.
Yes. Kind of want to, like I said, video game challenge that we have going on. Feel like those games are shorter, can kind of whip through them pretty quickly, at least the original trilogy, plus the 3 original spin-offs on the PS3, because they're all on the PS3, so I can just play them right there and save some time. And then
we might have talked about it on the first party chat Kay and James were on about game franchises that you never got into but always wanted to, and God of War is always up there for me because it was a PlayStation franchise. I never owned a PlayStation, but I love hack and slashes, so I've never played any God of War game that I've always wanted to.
Yeah, so basically just my plan is to beat that one and then try to beat Yakuza 5 and 1000 X Resist. Just kind of clear those out of the way. So I can probably start Yakuza 6 on my Steam Deck when I go on vacation at the end of this month. And then after that, I wanted to kind of check out Eternal Strands, I guess.
Did that just come out, or is it just about to come out?
It just came out recently. It's a day one on Game Pass. Plume.
That's why.
Plume suggested it to me when he was on my show on Saturday, so I was like, let me give it a try, because I just finished Fable, the Lost Chapter, so I tried to start Fable 2, but I've been having nothing but glitch problems, so I'm just going to play it on my original 360.
Okay. So, and James agrees with me, saying, yeah, Pokemon Pinball is so good. And Nightmare saying, for some reason, when I see someone usually wearing hats, I just unconsciously assume they're bald.
So do you think I'm bald when I wear my Waluigi hat all the time?
Yes.
Okay, there you go.
Hey, Jason's here as well. That's funny because the more hair I have, the more I usually wear a hat. Exactly. I don't like doing my hair very often. The reason why I'm not wearing a hat right now is because I did my hair today because I need to take a passport picture because I'm going on. I need a passport because I'm going out of the country this summer, and so I went and took.
Where are you going?
I am going on a Mediterranean cruise at the end of June.
Oh, look at you!
Fancy.
Yeah. Gonna pick up some Greek girls.
We'll see. It's gonna be awesome because that's like the #1 country I want to go to, and I've never been there. So
Greece.
The Mediterranean, Greece, Italy area.
Gotcha.
You being I'm not like I wouldn't call myself anywhere. Obviously, you majored in history, so I'm not like as big of a history buff as you are, but I do like history stuff. So
just be careful in Athens if you go there. It's a lot of crackheads.
Okay, I will be going to Athens. So.
Athens can be scary. I ended up there in the middle of a protest and didn't even realize. I thought Greek people were just really excited. And then they started getting really mad, and I saw footage when I was like going over to one of the islands and it was on fire, and I was like, oh, I was in the middle of a protest. I didn't even know.
Oh, geez.
Like 10 years ago or something. I was like, oh.
Nightmare says enjoy your cruise. Thank you. I absolutely will. It's going to be awesome. So, all right. As for myself, a couple things that I've been playing lately. I was panic playing Death's Door before it left Game Pass at the end of January because a bunch of people on my Xbox community said it's like amazing. I thought it was okay. I didn't even have I didn't even actually get all the achievements. I left one because I was not going to play through the game again in order to get it. I'll talk more about that on Achievement Chasers on Thursday, but it did not live up to the hype from all the people who I had heard talk about it prior to playing it. It is a isometric Zelda-like game, which that definitely is a plus in my book. It just didn't grab me. Let's see here. And we got the announcement of the next set of games that are leaving Game Pass, and there's one of them that I've been looking at playing. So I started it the other night. I'm panic playing it before it leaves in the middle of February, and that's called Return to Grace. I'm really liking it. It takes place in like the year like 3800, and there was this AI called Grace that basically brought humanity into like a golden age, and for some reason mysteriously disappeared, and this like 900 years later, and you're an explorer and you're trying to figure out what happened to it. And it's basically a walking sim so far. I put probably about 2 hours into it, but I really liked it. I like the story, and I like sci-fi stuff, so I've been enjoying this one a lot more. And then just today I started the original NES version of Metroid, and I'm not having a lot of fun with it. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to play Metroid and Metroid 2, the original versions. I owe it to myself being a big Metroid fan. I got to at least play them once. And so far, definitely play Zero Mission. It is by far infinitely better than the original Metroid. It's very frustrating. So, but yeah, with that, let's see here. I thought Greek people were just getting bad with money. So,
that is
all right.
true. It's not necessarily wrong.
We'll go ahead and get into our topics. And let's see here. It is 17 minutes. So, all right. Let me see here. So, as usual, I like to offer the guests an opportunity to suggest a topic to talk about. And Kay had this, like, she didn't even need to think about it. She's just like, here's a topic. I'm like, that's perfect. So she suggested, what is a game that grew on you? Maybe you didn't care for it at first, but you eventually came around on it and really enjoyed it after a while. Maybe that was a second or a third or a fourth playthrough. What's a game that you initially weren't a fan of that you really liked? So, Kay, since this was your question, what game was that for you?
I think this answer is going to surprise everyone. I will be shocked if it doesn't surprise someone. My game is Fire Emblem, if you can believe that.
The original?
Like, when I first played Fire Emblem 7, I hated it.
Okay.
I didn't like it. And the reason why is because I discovered Fire Emblem through Smash Bros. Melee.
Okay.
And I loved Roy in it. And I was like, oh, this is so cool.
Roy was my main in Melee.
Yeah.
Roy's
and I was
our
like,
boy.
Exactly. And I was always hearing those chants too when I was playing the game. And it's like, oh, this is so cool. I want to play a game with these characters. Now, weirdly enough, I just didn't even look into Fire Emblem because that was, I guess, a point in time where you just go into a retail store, just grab a game and go. So like, I didn't even look at the back of the box. I just saw the front cover and I was like, oh, it's Fire Emblem. No, Roroth will never grow on me, okay? I can't. It gets worse with time. It's awful. I'm so glad I haven't had to play that in a while. It's been a blessing.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, it's all good. Yeah, so I just kind of saw it on the shelf and I grabbed it and I was like, it's Fire Emblem, of course. And it's like, it had Roy's dad on the cover. So like, for me, it just looked like pretty much the same character.
And you're talking about Fire Emblem 7?
Yes.
What platform was that on?
Game Boy Advance.
Game Boy. Okay. I was like, all I know about Fire Emblem is from Smash Bros. And yeah, the only Fire Emblem I ever saw like when they were new were on Game Boy Advance. So I wasn't sure if it was, what it was on. So
yeah, that was pretty much like when it became popular in the West. So that putting Roy in Smash Bros. Along with Marth and bringing out they just titled it Fire Emblem here, but Fire Emblem 7 in the series. That was like the first kind of like, here, Westerners, go play this game.
So did they pull like a Final Fantasy where over here Fire Emblem 1 is Fire Emblem 7 in Japan?
Well, there's a lot of other, like, I guess technically in North America that's considered Fire Emblem 1, but I don't think anyone really calls it Fire Emblem 1. It's just that, like, they didn't put, like, the full title for Fire Emblem on that box, or but, like, it is the 7th in the series, but they don't all follow the same story or anything. Like, they all have different main characters. Some tie together, some don't.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say by the fans anyone really calls it Fire Emblem 1 in the same way Final Fantasy is labeled, but it was just titled Fire Emblem, so it was just very easy for people who didn't know the series to just be like, "Oh, I start here," pretty much. I think that was the intention.
Okay.
But I fired that game up, took it home, and I was like, "What is this?" It was a tactics game, right? And I was like,
You had no idea what
"This
you're getting
isn't."
into.
And I like tactics games, but, like, I almost in my brain built up this expectation for, like, a Dynasty Warriors style game for some reason.
Okay, I was gonna ask you what kind of game were you expecting?
Yeah, I felt like I was expecting a Dynasty Warriors type game and that I'd be able to play the characters similar to that, and then Roy is, like, technically not even in this game, so it was like, well, like, this isn't the same character or anything, like, this feels like complete false advertising in my
Rug
brain.
pull.
Yeah, I felt like I rug pulled myself because I didn't do the research. I just saw the title and I was like, "Sure." And it was just that period of time where I was like, I'll just pick games based on their cover. I wasn't always looking at the back. But, I was really mad, and I remember just being like, "Screw this." Of course, I'm censoring my swear words here. And I just put it down, and I didn't touch it for a while, and I was like, "This is definitely not what I wanted." And I went and played Smash Bros for a bit, and I came back, I was like, "You know what? I'm gonna try to give it another chance." And I sat through it, and I hated the first few chapters. I hated the first 10 chapters because it was just
How many chapters
tutorial
are
and there's
there?
uh, about 35, and then there's bonus chapters, and then there's multiple stories you play through and see different characters and stuff. But the first 10 chapters are meant to be a tutorial, essentially, so you're playing through this girl's story, Lynn, and it's meant to just kinda ease you into the world, and it's way easier than the rest of the game. And I was just super bored with it because I'm like, it just keeps telling me, okay, click this square, now do this. And it doesn't really let you get creative. You have
Those
to trade with
remind me.
this character.
We've
Yeah.
talked about that before and how much I hate tutorials that are too overly
Yes.
handholdy.
I hate tutorials that overstay their welcome or that expect you to like just sit through them. You can't skip them. And then obviously every time I get a new Fire Emblem 7 cartridge or I restart completely with no saves on there, I have to go through that tutorial again. It's like really annoying. They should let you just skip it, even if like it's not the if it's your first time. But yeah, so I played through that and I really pushed myself. And then I got to chapter 11 where you get introduced to Elliewood and the story started to get interesting and I was like more and more open to it. And I'm like a huge Hector fan. And then I found out that there was like a Hector Plus mode where you could play through as him. So I forced myself to get through most of this game before I finally liked it, and now, like, this is one of my top 3 video games of all time. And I think that's
Oh,
the funny part about it, is that it's like, this is one of my favorite video games ever. Fire Emblem is one of my favorite series ever, and I started off not liking it because I had the wrong expectation walking into it. So it's really just a lesson of even if you're not certain, just stick through it sometimes. You might like it in the end, and it might, shape you a little bit. And I would say Fire Emblem has definitely shaped me. So it's a very weird feeling knowing that I hated it for a while.
I have a pretty similar experience with when we get to mine. I'm looking through because I can't imagine that it doesn't have retro achievements, but all the ones I don't see one just called Fire Emblem. I see one the Binding Blade, the Sacred Stones,
Yeah, it'll be under its name. So
Fire Emblem Ward. Oh wait, that's a hack. I'm having trouble finding it, but
Yeah, in the West it was just called Fire Emblem.
interesting. Yeah, retro achievements has them
I always
listed
get confused
so
between
weird
one is
sometimes.
Blazing Sword and one is Binding Blade. One is 6 and one is 7. So it could be under those names.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why I'm not finding it. But so which game is it that Roy and Marth are from?
Roy's from 6, and then Martha's from like the original Fire Emblems. Like he's like iconic in Japan. So
Okay.
yeah.
And City's Bliss is here as well, saying, "Yo,
What up, Bliss?
what's up, Bliss? Good to see you,
Yo.
buddy." So okay.
Yeah, there you go. Binding Blade, exactly.
Lowest expectations here as well, coming in with the Fire Emblem 7 is Binding Blade.
One is
Okay,
Blazing
that's
Sword,
probably
one is
why.
Binding Blade. And I just always like mix up the two because I'm like, it's the same thing in my brain. Like it's such a similar subtitle.
Oh, Blazing Blade.
Yeah, see what I mean? It's like Blazing Blade, Binding Blade, and I've heard multiple. 'Cause sometimes I go on those sites that are like they translate the Japanese to English for the game and get into, and it's like they call it different stuff too.
Oh, yeah. So I've got it pulled
Yeah.
up here on Retro Achievements. Does have an achievement set. on the actual like because it always has a picture of like the box and it just says Fire Emblem, but it on Retro Team it's called Fire Emblem: The Blazing Blade. So it doesn't even say Blazing Blade on the box itself.
Exactly. Yeah,
So,
it's just because that's like on the Japanese box, it has it in Japanese, so people just translate it essentially. And yes, Canadian's right. Martha's from 1 and 2. Like Martha's like considered the iconic character in my opinion of classic Fire Emblem.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, tactical RPG.
He's like the original Fire Emblems.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, good stuff.
They did get a remake of the first one over here for the DS as well.
Yes.
So, what about you, Carl? Lois is saying, Binding Blade is Japan only.
Yeah, that's 6 with Roy.
Okay.
But you can see how close the names are, right? It's like Binding Blade, Blazing Sword, depending on who you talk to.
Definitely confusing.
I just go Fire Emblem 6 and Fire Emblem 7. And then Sacred Stones, because it's so different.
Okay. All right, what about you, Carl? Did you ever have a game that you didn't like initially that grew on you?
Yes, Knights of the Old Republic was mine.
Oh, okay. I didn't even think about that one, but I'd probably agree with that as well.
Yeah, I was expecting it to be like Fable in terms of its combat, because I was like super obsessed with Fable as a kid, and I started playing it. I'm like, what the hell is this combat? You know, it's just it doesn't play anything like a hack and slash. You know what? Why does everything feel so hard? And I just returned the game because Blockbuster used to have like a summer pass. So you could go there, rent a game, and then return it, and then rent another game the same day if you had a chance to do that.
I did not know about that. I wish I would have known about that.
Yeah. So, so I did that, and then eventually, when I was, I think, I had to be in high school at this time. I think I was like a freshman in high school, and one of my buddies I used to go to his house in the morning because he was just like 5-minute walk from the high school. So my sister would drop me off on her way to work, and I would just go hang out with him for a couple hours, and then we went to school. And then I started playing Knights of the Old Republic 2, and I was like, this is awesome. You know, I got a little bit older, and I started to have more fun with it. So I went back and played the first one, and I was like, oh, this is so much better than I ever gave it a chance for. So, originally I just had dumb child brain. I thought like this was going to be something different. I wasn't mature enough to enjoy the game at the time, and after I matured a little bit more, it quickly became one of my favorite games of all time.
Okay. So Filter's here. What's up, Filter? Here's a good question for you. What gave you the idea that the combat was similar to Fable?
I thought it was going to be like Fable.
Yeah, like, was there any reason like why you thought that?
I'm dumb kid.
Okay.
That's really what I could just like put it up to. It's like when, what year did Knights of the Old Republic release?
Yeah, it would have been around the same time as like 2002 to 2004 era, right? So Fable, like original Xbox, would have been similar time. I can understand that. And I was playing Fable around the same time as KOTOR. So
I'm saying in terms of like my age.
July
2003. So I was 12. All right, so let's just put that in perspective there. I was born in 91, so in 2003, I was 12 basically.
Okay.
12 or 13. I was a young dumb kid who didn't really understand why game did not play like Fable.
Was it like the feeling of like all games should kind of play the same if they have a certain look to it? Because I had that kind of with Fire Emblem, right? I'm like, well, if I can play Roy this way in Fire Emblem, why can't I play the characters like that in this game?
Yeah, exactly. It's more so like I said. There's like games. I've said this before, but like if I would have played them when they originally came out, I don't think I would have had as much appreciation for them because of just how I was as a kid. There's been a lot of games like originally, like I used to hate Fallout 3, and now I love Fallout 3. I thought Skyrim was going to be stupid, and I like Skyrim. I didn't like Devil May Cry. Now I like Devil May Cry. I just, as you get older, your taste in gaming changes. And another thing, too, is like you just become a better gamer. That's another thing as well. So you learn how to play games a lot better. You go back and give some games a second or third try, and then sometimes they click, And basically a lot of that stuff is just I was too young. I thought it was going to be something else because dumb kid brain was like, this ain't what I want. Now I'm older. I'm like, oh, I get it. It's the Danny DeVito meme. I get it.
So I had a similar thing. I'm glad that the writing in KOTOR is so good because I'm still not a fan of the gameplay, which is why it's not up there in my top Star Wars games of all time. But it is up there for one of the best stories in games for sure. But it took me a while to get into the game, and I didn't have any preconceived notions of what the game would be like. I just like everyone was like ranting and raving about how good it was, and my buddy let me borrow it, and so I was like, okay, I'll play it. And it took me a while to get into it because I was not a fan of the combat. Still not, because I didn't understand dice rolls, and they were all invisible. They were behind the scenes, like you don't even like see anything. So like I'm hacking away at a guy and it's saying miss, miss, miss. I'm like, what do you mean miss? I saw it hit him. And that went over my head for the longest time. So it took me a while to get into that game. But once I started to understand it, I did enjoy the game more. I've only played it the one time back when it was new. Not like brand new, but like within a year or two of its release. So I haven't played it in like over 20 years. And I haven't played KOTOR 2. So I will be playing KOTOR 1 maybe this year. We'll see. But I'll be playing KOTOR 2, KOTOR 1, and then I'm going to immediately go into KOTOR 2 for the first time. But I did go back and start up the game again, like probably like a decade ago. And this was after I had played, I'd gotten into D&D in college with some buddies. And so I like understood dice rolls and stuff. So as I was building my character, like stuff I just like kind of just breezed by when I originally played it. Because I'm just like, yeah, whatever. Let me get to the game. And so when I started I didn't even play past like the first 10 minutes of the game, but I started it up and created the character and like, oh, I get it now. So yeah, especially if you don't have any comprehension of like dice rolls and like, you know, stuff like that. It makes a lot more sense once you understand those things.
I loved KOTOR when it came out for the combat, and I was actually really surprised and happy about it. I was like, "Oh, this is cool," but I had, like, warmed up to that kinda stuff by then, so it's interesting, and I think a lot of people would give that answer that KOTOR was the one that they had to push through. So it feels weird if you don't understand D&D at all. You're like, "Why am I randomly missing when I'm clearly hitting the character? This makes no sense."
Yeah.
Because we're so used to the games automating so much for that for us, and like with that, it's like I'm seeing that it's 0. Why? Doesn't make sense.
It's just everything would be better if they had the Mario Party Mias after everything.
Yeah, exactly. So Nia, were you one of the people excited about the potential for like a remake of the game? Because they might have overhauled the combat. I don't know. That's in limbo right now. I have no idea where it is. But.
Well,
I hope it's canceled.
It's not going to happen. People are like, no, it's just on ice. It's going to come back. It's not going to happen. I will put my money on it's not going to happen. If they under Disney, I don't want anything Star Wars from Disney. Nothing at all. So I'm happy that it's basically canceled. If we had competent people who were remaking it and didn't touch like revamp the combat, but everything else stayed the same, that would be amazing, because my favorite Star Wars games still to this day are Jedi Outcast and Jedi Academy, because those have the best combat. No other game has ever made you feel like a Jedi like those ones.
Yeah.
And they have actual lightsaber combat where lightsabers act like lightsabers. If they were my buddy who was on, I think he was on Top 5 Star Wars character, Rozik. He's my buddy IRL. He's a big Star Wars fan as well. He was telling me one time, like, you know, we're just like daydreaming about, you know, what we would love to see happens. And he was like, if they put the Jedi Outcast, Jedi Academy combat into KOTOR in like some sort of remake or reboot or KOTOR 3 or whatever, that could easily be up there for my favorite games of all time. My only issue with KOTOR was the combat. And I'm glad that it wasn't like, I always call it pseudo turn-based, because it's not exactly turn-based, because as you know, like that's one of my biggest gripes against most JRPGs is the turn-based combat. It was because it wasn't exactly turn-based combat that I gave it a chance. So
it gave you the illusion that it wasn't turn-based, but if you actually looked at how everything was laid out, it's very clearly turn-based. Like you hit and then I hit and then you hit, but they did a good way of like coding it in a way where it just felt like a hybrid, in my opinion.
Yeah, because you can pause it and like queue up your attacks, but you don't like take turns. Both you and your opponent are both like taking your turns at the same time, essentially. So it was a good hybrid that it was close enough to real-time combat that I gave it a chance. So,
But I
yeah,
agree with you on
Nightmare's
that.
asking
Like,
was KOTOR turn-based? Sort of.
it kind of was, yeah. Like you said, it's very much you queue your attacks up and you go. Whereas you think of like traditional turn based, it's like you play your turn, then I wait, then I play my turn, and like it kind of cuts that in half, so it doesn't feel like that as much. But I agree with you that they should have marriaged it with a better combat system just for overall appeal. Like I know I'm kind of in the minority enjoying that kind of gameplay, so I think it would have been a lot even more successful, even though it's super successful, if it played better.
Yeah, and Nightmare saying, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, Neil! What about Force Unleashed? That had some satisfying lights. That had satisfying force powers, but just like pretty much every other Star Wars game, the lightsaber is a glow stick. You
Hell yeah.
you don't actually like kill people in like one hit. You got to hack away at their health bar, and you don't have health bars in Jedi Outcast and Jedi Academy. The only enemies that survive multiple hits, it makes sense because they're Jedi, or maybe not Jedi, but they're Force users that can block your attacks. Or part of the story in Jedi Outcast at least is Gallic Fyar is an Imperial scientist who basically makes lightsaber resistant armor. So it makes sense on why the Shadow Troopers are able to survive more than one hit. But other than that, everything will die in one hit, and you can dismember them. And I just replayed Jedi Outcast this year because it did have a GameCube version, although the GameCube version is terrible compared to the PC version. That's the only version I've ever played. You cannot properly play that game without having the real lightsaber combat cheat on, because it makes the lightsaber so satisfying. But the force powers in Force Unleashed were awesome. So, and Flame Mage saying that Shadows of the Empire grew on him. I'd like to hear what Filter has to say, because that's his favorite Star Wars game. But yeah, and Nightmare's all saying, I agree, I wish JRPGs had more real-time combat. Me too, but there are out there. I know Carl's trying to get me to get into the Yakuza games, because some of them are real-time JRPGs.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I totally agree on the KOTOR. My first answer for this one, and I think we've talked about it on Party Chat before, but it was like a long time ago, is the Arkham games. It took me a while to get into the Arkham games, and kind of similar to KOTOR, whereas like I saw him hit, why didn't it do any damage? I didn't like the biggest thing that took me out of the Arkham games for the longest time was I'm freaking Batman, and it's taking me like 20 hits to knock out like one thug. I'm like, it should be one punch and this guy is down. Like, I don't get this. So it took me a while to get into it until I kind of got the hang of the Arkham combat, just like getting the hang of the KOTOR combat until I got into the game. And the Arkham games, I absolutely love them now. I love all four of them, including Origins. A lot of people downplay that one. I think it's a great game. I think each of the four Arkham games have something that they do better than the other three. They're all great. I like them all. It just took me a while to get into it because the combat annoyed me, because I'm like, why am I not taking out these thugs in one hit? I'm freaking Batman. So that was the biggest thing, was getting used to the combat. But they ended, that was arguably the first like good superhero game, and it definitely like brought like kind of like the Batman movies made people take Batman, or not Batman, but superhero movies seriously. This was like the game that made people take comic book video games seriously. And
Spider-Man
they basically
fans would like to have a word with you, Neo. We had a lot of great games.
That's
I'm just
true.
saying.
No, I would definitely want to argue with that. I know a lot of people love like the original Spider-Man 2 game. It's just, it's still like comic booky, and like it's like the Arkham games, like they're serious games. They're not like, I don't really know how to phrase it.
I think it's the production value of the Batman games. They do a really great job of blending cinematic with combat, with everything. It really feels like you're in a Batman movie of sorts. I haven't played through all of them. Everything I've seen and tried myself, you just feel so immersed in the world. And I think with the Spider-Man stuff, it's a little more goofy and lighthearted as the character can be. And it feels I guess more of a video game, whereas Batman, I can see having a bit more mass appeal across media. Like, I can see people that aren't necessarily video game fans jumping into Batman just because they're a comic book fan, for example. So I can see what you're saying. But the Spider-Man games are so good. And it's like they came first and people kind of forget about it now because either Insomniac has overridden it or, other reasons. But there were so many good Spider-Man games back then, too.
Yeah, no, the Spider-Man games are good, and I know a lot of people love them. I just think like the Arkham games were the ones that like really made people take superhero games like serious. Kind of like I guess I don't even know if this is a good analogy, but what's his name? Snyder like took the superheroes and like made it a darker story. The Arkham games kind of did that for video games. But yeah, not that they were the first good ones, but I would say it like made people take comic book / superhero games seriously, and they basically invented a new combat style that has been ripped off or copied in a lot of other games. So, and Fractured is saying he enjoyed Shadows of the Empire from the word go, but he does caution people how floaty it was. So it did not have to grow on him. He loved it since the beginning. And Nightmare saying Origins would be amazing if the other three didn't exist. It's still a good game. But yeah, it would definitely be better. People would look, would lift it up more if the other three games didn't exist. But I definitely think it's a good one. It's Arkham Origins is janky. But it has some awesome boss fights too. So, and lowest, not Lois, which we give him crap about sometimes, but lowest expectations has got to go. So good seeing you, Lowest. Have a good evening. We'll see you later. And Nightmare saying that's because Batman's more gritty setting, which makes sense. So, he's saying Arkham is to Spider-Man 2 what Spider-Man 2002 was to 70s Spider-Man. That is a very good analogy. I like that. So, and Captain Keeley's here. What's up, Captain Keeley? Good to see you. I haven't seen you in a while. So, but yeah, so Arkham was the first thing that came to mind as a game I didn't like initially, but it grew on me. Oh, quick, if you guys have this for movies, because I have a very similar thing with movies, being that Matrix is my favorite movie of all time. When the Wachowskis, I never remember how it's pronounced, came out with their next movie, I'm like, yeah, let's go. And I went and watched V for Vendetta, and I'm like, that sucked because I was expecting another Matrix. So when I watched it the second time, not having this preconceived notion that it's going to be like the Matrix, I watched it for what it was, and I fell in love with it. It's one of my favorite movies. I absolutely love it, but I hated it the first time I watched it. So really quickly, do you guys have a movie that grew on you like that?
No.
Okay.
I guess the medium as a whole for me, I used to think movies sucked, and then my eyes have been open to how movies can actually be really great, and now I'm a huge David Lynch fan.
What opened your eyes to that?
Okay, so really quick, pretty much when I was growing up, my friends, they're all girls and they'd all force me to go watch these like really garbage movies in theaters that were just so bad and meant for like mainstream Hollywood. And
you
so
don't
I was
talk
like,
shit about the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants.
I
right?
had to watch that. It was awful. I hated it. Oh my God. It was so bad. And I'm talking like things like I was forced to watch like High School Musical, Twilight, like it was just awful. And I was like, I just don't like film. Like, this is just miserable. So I've always been a video game person. Yeah, like I've just always been
introduction.
I've always been a video game person. I always thought the medium was way more exciting, and I still stand by that. I like the way it immerses you a lot better than movies. But yeah, I've been with James for a long time. I've known him my whole life, but like we didn't really start watching movies together a lot until we like started dating, obviously, right? So now we watch a lot of movies together, and he's like, no, I'm gonna convince you that film is good. And so he shows me like a lot of John Carpenter, Stanley Kubrick, David Lynch, that kind of stuff, and I'm like in love with that. And it's not that I've hated all films, it's just I was super particular. Like I love Lord of the Rings and stuff and Star Wars.
Excellent.
But he found like a lot of films that were like deep thinker movies and like, whoa, this is crazy. And I was like, okay, film's actually thought provoking. I like it.
So, and Snapple's here saying hello. What's up, Snapple? Or Snap? Rai. Sorry, I did name you.
Snap.
It's going to take a while to get used to that. And Frilter saying Arkham took and refined the combat from Assassin's Creed, and it's between Batman and Shadows of Mordor, Shadows of War that made best use of it. I love the Shadows games, so yes, I felt like more the Shadows games was basically like a great combination of the Arkham games and the Assassin's Creed games. So, yep,
You
I
know,
agree.
out of that, everyone has their Warner Brothers game that they really loved. For me, it was Mad Max. I really liked how Mad
I've
Max felt in
heard
the same
great
combat.
things about it. I have not played it yet, but I will be starting it once I get to all my backlogged games.
Underrated gems. Mad Max is so good.
I've heard that from a lot of people. It's like one of those, underrated gems and one of those like great. It's not really based on the movie, but it takes place in the universe of the movie. So it kind of qualifies as a movie-based game, and I've heard it's really good. So Snapple says, "You are free to dead name me." Okay, well, I will be calling you Snapple for a while. But cool. So, all right. Well, with that, we'll go on to our next topic. So, I don't remember what episode it was. I didn't look at it, but I have a series of questions that'll be sprinkling throughout various episodes of Party Chat. And a while back, we talked about our favorite game that is the first one in its franchise, where the first one in the franchise is our favorite game. So now we're going to be talking about what franchise, where the second game in the franchise is your favorite in that franchise. So, Carl, why don't you start us off with this one?
Well, obviously, it's Mass Effect 2.
That's what I figured.
It's my favorite video game of all time.
Yep. So, do you have any others where the second one in a franchise is your favorite?
Second one in a franchise is my favorite. That's
because I've got a few answers for this one, but I'll let you guys go first so I don't steal anybody's.
Personally, myself, I can't really think of anyone where like the second one has like just blown me away to like be amazing.
Speaking of Spider-Man 2,
like in terms of like my favorite one, because
right. I was just gonna, because Nightmare just said Spider-Man 2. I'm assuming he's talking about the 2004 one and not the recent Spider-Man 2s. But thank you for clarifying.
Yeah, I can't really think of the only one I can really say for now is probably Resident Evil 2 would probably be up there. I would say.
Okay.
Generally really like that. Before is my go-to on that one, but I still really do love and enjoy Resident Evil 2.
Okay. But yeah.
And I know the perfect one actually.
Oh, perfect.
I just remembered this one. Digimon World 2 for the old PS1.
I'm not really a Pokemon person, but I always did like Digimon more than I liked Pokemon.
Yeah, Digimon World 2 is kind of like a dungeon crawler, turn-based RPG where you kind of get to pick a team that you're on, either the data team, the virus team, or the vaccine team, because those were the Digimon typings. And depending on what you did, you got to go around and you got to like shoot toy airplanes at Digimon, and then they'd be your friends, and then you can make them join your party. It's a very simplistic game, but I just remember playing it so much as a kid, especially because Digimon World 1 was so confusing for a child with, child IQ trying to figure out that you need to do all this stuff. It's like, I just want the cool, awesome werewolf Digimon. Instead, I get the poop one, and I don't understand why I got the poop one, That one for sure would probably be one that I still enjoy. In fact, I think I might want to do a sit-down playthrough of that one day. But for sure, definitely Digimon World 2 especially was one of my other favorite number 2s because it was much better than 1 because it was like definitely much more simplistic and more dungeon crawlery, and everything kind of just made more sense,
Yeah. So, cool. Good.
Oh, and Jak 2.
Good pet. Oh, another PlayStation.
Jak 2 for sure was another one of those. I'm trying to remember 2s right now. So Jak 2 especially was, I think it's one of the best games on the PS2. If you own a PS2 or looking for a list of games to go, Jak 2 should definitely be on that list. I was not a fan of the Precursor Legacy. I thought it was like lame and for weenies when I was a kid. And then my buddy was like, yo, you got to try out Jak 2. It's not for weenies. Those was his exact words were. And it was such a drastic tone shift from the first one, and it was so fun and so different. It kind of felt like a GTA clone, but it wasn't. Yeah, Jak 2 is still my favorite one. Oh, one more actually. Ironically,
Awesome.
Since we're talking about 2s, it's just making me think now. Ironically, the other Naughty Dog game, the best game on the PS3, Uncharted 2.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, Uncharted 2, I think, is by far one of the best PS3 games, and I think Uncharted 2 is just awesome. I just had nothing but fun times playing it, and it seems to follow that trend of like the first game is okay, the second game's amazing, and the third game sucks. That's Naughty Dog's trends for me so far.
Jane is saying, I always wanted to try Jack one of these days because he's seen so many pics of Dak's feet.
They're good. They're on the PS4 and PS5. They got remasters, and they still play just fine. They're also super cheap. They go on sale like all the time for like $5.
Oh snap! Nightmare says Kevin Conroy was in Jack and Daxter 1. Who was he? That's awesome.
Oh, I couldn't tell you.
I've never played any of the Jack and Daxters because another PlayStation franchise that I would have liked to have played if I had ever had a PlayStation. That and what's the other one that's very similar with the Lombax?
You're talking about Ratchet and Clank?
Ratchet and Clank. That's another one that I would have liked to have played if I had ever.
Going Commando is their second game, and Going Commando is very fun. I do like it a lot, but I think Up Your Arsenal's just slightly better.
Okay. Oh, Nightmare saying he voiced a random fisherman. Cool.
Oh, but since we're talking about number 2s today, I feel like we'd be remiss too that they just announced that Onimusha 2 is getting a remaster.
So hype. Oh man,
Yes.
It looks so good. I was watching that earlier today along with the Monster Hunter Wild stuff as well. Oh, that was fun.
Yeah, I can't wait for that for sure. So
So I know, other than I know the name of Onimusha, I know absolutely nothing about this franchise. The one they announced that's coming out,
it's a new one.
It's a brand new one.
Yes.
And what number one would that be?
Technically, it would be. What is it? 5?
It would essentially be Onimusha.
It depends on how you feel about Dawn of Dreams.
Okay.
I didn't even touch that one. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
So there's like
do a
3
remaster
mainline ones.
too.
Yeah, there's 3 mainline ones. Then there's Dawn of Dreams, and I haven't played that one in forever, so I don't really remember too much about it.
Onimusha for me is like the PS2, like the first and second one, pretty much, and then I'm like, I don't know after that.
Yeah, you need to play those, Neo. They're very short, and you could definitely get through them like in one day each. Like they're only like 6-hour games because Onimusha actually originally started on the PS1.
That's what I thought.
But it didn't come out on the PS1. It was a prototype because originally it was supposed to be a Resident Evil game set in like feudal era Japan, and then it grew into a different project. It's kind of funny that Resident Evil has like made so many Capcom franchises because like Devil May Cry and Onimusha started out as Resident Evil prototypes, and then they just became their own games.
That's right. So, Jason's saying we get to play Mai tonight. What is he talking about?
Street Fighter 6, baby. Let's go. I'm so excited.
Jason, if you're free, we're gonna hop on the beta, and they got private lobbies. So if you want to play with us, let us know.
Is it that they're adding her to Street Fighter 6? Because like Street Fighter 6 has been out a while.
Yeah, they're adding her as a character, and
Okay.
they made her look very similar to how she's supposed to look. So a lot of us are very happy. She's very accurate.
Nice. I know she's up there for at the top of some people's waifu list, which
she is the waifu, yeah.
Which is the topic of the next top 5 is top 5 gaming waifus, since next week is Valentine's Day.
I got my list ready to go.
So I will need to get that ready before next week. I know I wrote down a few, but I haven't organized them in the right order yet. So
slacker.
All right. So all right. Well, one other thing I need to ask you, since it's your background, where does Forza Horizon 2 fall in the Forza Horizon games for you?
Don't like it.
Okay.
Yeah, Forza Horizon 2 I would put like at the very bottom. I just never enjoyed it that much. It's like in the Italian and French countryside, and it was one of those weird cross-generational games, so there's like a Xbox One version and a 360 version. I just think 3 just blew it out of the water. Like it wasn't close. And then 4, I didn't like it as much, but it was still fun. So it's like funny. It's like the odd number ones I really like. So 1, 3, and 5 are like the best ones.
Okay,
And then
the
like
odd
2
number
and
ones.
4, I'm just like, not so much.
What is it like? I think the Star Trek purists, like the odd numbered ones are the good ones, and the even numbered ones are the bad ones. I might have that backwards. I don't really know a whole lot about Star Trek, but I know that there's one way or the other. That's kind of typically how they're revered, is the odd versus the even numbered ones.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you. I don't know anything about Star Trek either.
Yeah. I think it's the even number ones, because I think Star Trek 2 is the Wrath of Khan, and I think that's what everyone says is like the best one. So I think the even ones are the ones that everyone likes, and the odd ones are the ones that people don't like generally.
Right.
I could be wrong about that, but I think that's right. So, all right. Okay, what are some franchises where the second one in the franchise is your favorite in the franchise?
Oof, I have a tie for this one between a few games. I could not pick one. Mass Effect 2 is an obvious one for me. Just Pinnacle. I know, Neo, you don't fully agree that it's the best one in the
It's a
series,
great
but
game, just not my
love
favorite.
it. Yeah, but it's just so good, and it's one of those games that I crave so often. I just want to go back and play Mass Effect 2 constantly. So that was the first answer. Like as soon as I saw your question, I'm like, it's Mass Effect 2. But then I was like, wait, I can't not mention these. So of course, Soul Calibur 2
Okay.
is
Oh,
like
good
for
one.
me.
I
It's
forgot
like
about that. Yeah, nice one.
like never again will there be a Soul Calibur that good. They come close, but Soul Calibur 2 is just like iconic in its own right. So
Which one?
well, I played all of them, but I mean like original Xbox was kind of my main because I love Spawn so much, and there was so little Spawn
Oh,
media at the time that you could
yeah, I know
play
Soul
through.
Calibur has like guest characters based on like what platform you were on. I just wasn't sure which numbered Soul Caliburs were on which platform. So I remember, yeah, it was Spawn was on Xbox,
Mhm.
Link was on GameCube, and
Hayachi.
Tekken.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was
Hayachi,
like,
yeah.
someone from Tekken was on PlayStation.
Should have been King. Sad, but yeah, so out of the 3, like, I mean, I played the PS2 one the least, and now I play on our Xbox. We have, like, the remastered version that has both or whatever, but, yeah, I went Spawn because I'm like, I can play Smash Bros. And play Link, but, like, getting really good Spawn media is difficult, so always played that version. And then Paper Mario Thousand Year Door, one of my favorite
That
games of
counts.
all time. I count that because,
Oh, yeah, it
Super
doesn't have
Mario
to be numbered too, as long as it's just the second one in like a sub. It could even be a sub franchise, especially since
Yeah.
like Mario is so huge. Kind of like when we rank Mario games, you know, at least I know James was like keeping it's like one per sub franchise. Like basically the same thing I do. So yeah, that would totally count.
Some people might consider it within Super Mario RPG, which would make it the third one technically, but I consider it second one because Paper Mario to me is like a spiritual successor rather than like, being a second in that series. So I'd consider Thousand Year Door.
I
Um
would too. Oh, Nightmare's got a good one for you.
oh.
What about Smash Bros. Melee?
Yeah, Smash Bros. Melee, exactly. He's right. Yeah, that was up there
Yep.
for me too. And it's like that's my favorite Smash Bros. So there's so many that the second is like really, really strong. Dead or Alive 2 is really good, but it's not my favorite, so I can't put it in
I
that
was going to
category.
ask you about that because I know how much you love Dead or Alive. I was going to say, kind of like I was asking him about Forza Horizon 2. Where does DOA 2 fall for you?
I actually came up with more 2s when K's done because I'm just looking at my
Yeah.
list and I'm like, I'm just
There's
getting them
so
all.
many, right? When you think about it, I'm like,
Yeah.
but you're saying favorite, so I'm trying to stick to favorite. Like
Yeah.
for me,
Because
Tony
there's 2s that I love, but they're not my
Yeah.
favorite in the franchise.
Exactly. That's why I was like, okay, it's definitely Paper Mario Thousand Year Door, Mass Effect 2, Soul Calibur 2. And then I think the other one I would say is Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2.
I have
Good
that.
one.
Well, I thought about that one, but I didn't put it on my list because it's when we get to favorite 3s, that one might show up.
Yeah, that's hard though because there's so many good Tony Hawk games as well. I'm like, I think 2 is my favorite though. So yeah, that would be my list. There's a lot of 2s that I love. Oh, you know what? I got one more. Marvel vs. Capcom 2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
That one
Yeah,
is
I
the
was talking
best
to
one
Jason
too.
about that recently because I think everyone considers MVC2 like the best of the MVC games, and he's like, yeah.
Most part, you see some people that like the first one more, but the 2, I just have so many arcade memories and stuff in it. And if we're talking Resident Evil 2 is my favorite out of all the Resident
Okay.
Evils. So
You and Carl. So
Yeah.
and Static's here saying, yo, what's up, Static? Good to see you tonight, buddy.
Yo, yo, yo.
Here's hoping to more favorite 2s. I want to see more good sequels come out.
There's actually 3 I just thought of. Just kind of looking at my collection.
Just a second. Filter saying I'm odd man out. I don't mind Mass Effect 2, but I prefer Mass Effect 1. To each their own. And Nightmare saying Mass Effect 2 is also his favorite because it focuses on the characters in a persona type of way. So, What are some other twos that you thought of, Carl?
I just thought of it. Need for Speed Underground 2 was another one that I really did enjoy as a kid, and I still do.
Okay.
Another one that I was just thinking of, I couldn't believe this. It was one of my favorite games of 2018, Yakuza Kiwami 2. I thought that was a really great, remake from the ground up in that Dragon engine. It was really damn good, especially in 2018. I kind of got into the Yakuza series that year, and I remember playing Kiwami 1. I was like, this is great. And then I played 2, and I was like, this is even better. So I got to give it a shout out to that one. And then a game that came out last year, Space Marine 2.
Oh, good one. I'm sure I will like that once I get around to playing it, but I got to play the first one first. So I do have it now. I just haven't played it yet.
Space Marine 2 delivered on everything that I wanted. That's for sure.
It looks like a lot of fun. I think I like that game a lot.
It is great. I absolutely adore that game. Wish I could find more people to play the co-op with, but that's neither here nor there.
All right. Well, for me, a couple of my favorites were the second one is my favorite. It's funny how this was also my answer to the last question on a game that grew on you, the Arkham games. Arkham City is my favorite of the Arkham games. And I played that again last year for the first time since Arkham City was new. And yeah, it's such a great game. Portal 2, arguably my favorite puzzle game of all time. I freaking love Portal 2. Also in the same franchise, Half-Life 2. Half-Life 1 was great, as was Portal 1, but Half-Life 2 and Portal 2 just took everything the first one did and, upped it to an even better standard. This one is right on the edge because I didn't actually put it on my top 5 Metroidvanias, but it arguably could have been Metroid Prime 2. I absolutely love Metroid Prime 2. The only reason why I put Metroid Prime 1 on my top 5 Metroidvanias is because Metroid Prime 1 has less like not technical like bugs, but just like technical things that kind of bring it back a little bit. But I still love Metroid Prime 2 probably just as much as I love Metroid Prime 1. And this one was on my top 5 Star Wars games was Rogue Squadron 2 Rogue Leader. Love that game. But my number 1 favorite number 2 game, or it doesn't have 2 in the title, but it's the second one in the franchise and is also my number 1 favorite Metroidvania is Ori 2, Ori and the Will of the Wisps. So
this would be a good top 5, yeah.
Top 5 number 2 games?
Yeah, there's so many. You can definitely
because I'm still looking at all my collection. I'm like, oh, that one would have been great to say. And I just was like, I could be here for hours because I keep thinking of more. So that's why I say this would be a good top 5.
All right, I'm adding it to the list. Second games in
you can probably do everything up to 3. Like you could do top 5 best third game in the series, right? But I think once you get into like the 4s and 5s, it's a little more shaky.
Yeah. Like what we're gonna get to Final Fantasy. What's your favorite number 16 in a franchise?
So cool. Yeah, well, I wrote them both down and put Carl as the suggester of those. Although I might have already had that written down. Sometimes I get mixed up what topics I've written down for party chat versus which topics I've written down for top 5. So I may already have that, but I'll look.
Well, if it's written down already, that means you just bump it up to the higher priority if more people suggest it. There you go.
Yeah. So, all right. So let's see here. All right. So next topic for tonight. Let's see here. Second game, and then 03. Next topic on the agenda for tonight is: was there ever a console you bought for a single game? What game was it, and was it worth it? So, I'll go ahead and start this one off. I never exactly bought a console just for one game, so to speak, like per se. But I did buy a console just to play one game. But I knew that there would be more in the future. There weren't any announced, but I know that there's going to be more for this console in the future, so I have no problem buying it now. Would I go back and buy this console just for this game? Possibly. But what I'm referring to is I bought a Wii on launch for the sole reason of Twilight Princess, and it was worth it because it's my second favorite Zelda game. I did also buy a couple other games when I bought the Wii on launch night, but the main reason I bought it was for Twilight Princess. The other game I was very interested in, I thought it was going to be really cool, and it turned out to not be so great, was Red Steel. Although I heard the second one was a lot better. Never played it, though. But the closest thing to buying a console for a single game was the Wii, and I bought it for Twilight Princess, and I would say it was worth it. Would I go back and buy it now, knowing that Twilight Princess is as good as it is? On launch, I don't know. That's tough because you guys know how frugal I am. But I would say yes, because it's Twilight Princess is a phenomenal game. So I would probably say yes. I would still do it in hindsight. So I know you guys are much bigger collectors than I am. So you guys probably have maybe some very obscure consoles that maybe you bought like I don't know, like a 3DO or something for one game. I have no idea.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking of obscure consoles because I didn't know you guys are much more collectors than I am. Did you guys ever buy a console for a single game? Or maybe you had something like me, like you bought a console on launch for a specific game, but you had the idea that there'll be more games for it down the line. Whatever kind of fits in that, this topic box for you. I'd like to hear from you guys if you, where that you fall in this topic. So, Kay, what about you?
There's two, but I'll mention my main one because the caveat you added to the rest that I'm like, there's a second console technically. And guys, I apologize. You're going to hear James yelling about girls in the background for the next hour. So the first console that I thought of right away was actually the PS5. I played Final Fantasy Remake, and I fell in love with it so hard.
Ooh.
And I knew that the next one would have had to been on the next system. I'm like, it's definitely going to be on the PS5. They're not going to bring it to the PS4. So the second that I finished Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 1, I was like, I'm getting a PS5. There's no question for me. I need to play the second part of this.
Jason, glad to hear you say that.
Yeah, I'm sure Jason is very happy to hear that one. So yeah, I bought a PS5 just with that in mind and bought Rebirth day one. Well, I guess James gifted to me for Valentine's Day because it came out around then. But I knew day one I'm getting Rebirth and I'm trying it. I don't regret it. The jury's not out on whether or not I like Rebirth yet. I've played through some of it and I feel like it's just a little too fluffy so far. Some of the side missions, I'm like, I get it. It's a JRPG and you're supposed to go through the motions of it, but it's been a little much for me. And I'm having a hard time sticking with it right now. But I think I will love Rebirth in the end. I just really need to stick through and really commit myself to it and be in the proper headspace and just get into it, push through it. So I don't dislike Rebirth at all. It's just I think the first part was a lot more of a tight experience and it was a lot easier to cruise through, and I couldn't put the controller down with part 1. And with part 2, I stepped away because I'm like, okay, I'm kind of wandering too much, and I'm like, it's annoying sometimes. I have Chadley in my ear constantly chirping about stuff, and then I'm just going, and it's a huge world and it should be. It's beautiful. In theory, it should just be all great, but I think I'm just not in the space right now where I want to spend 80, 100 hours on a game. I want to jump through a bunch of different games. So I will definitely revisit Rebirth. I don't regret buying the PS5 for it, but it did not hook me the same way that part 1 did.
I can understand that. I actually just plowed through all 3 of those games at the end of last year. Mm-hmm. I did Remake, Crisis Core, and Rebirth all in a 2-week span, Kay. And you're not wrong. Because after I got to Gungaga, I got really just fed up with the open world stuff of just riding around on chocobos, and I just kind of said you know what, I'm not going to deal with this anymore. I just beelined it through the story. There are a lot of valid criticisms about open world bloat. I think they do a better job than most open world games with it, but I
agree with that too. Yeah.
The ending and everything else it is so worth it, and like I said, it was one of my favorite games I played last year for a top 5 reason wise.
Yeah, I do feel like as soon as I push through it, I'll be fine, but it just almost gives you way too much, and it's are you doing this because you want to tide me over for the third part? Like, you're kind of just trying to keep me in this world as long as possible for the third one. Again, I get it. It's JRPG. It's supposed to be big. And maybe, if I were a little bit younger and I had less things to do, then I'd have no problem
Yes.
spending all of that time doing whatever. But the older we get, not only is there more responsibility, but there's just way more games I want to play. And like, I already know that I'm not going to be able to get through every single game I want to before I die. Like, it's sad, but it's true.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, I want to actually find the time to play stuff. And this is why I never touched things like World of Warcraft, because I knew I would love World of Warcraft and that's all I would do. So I sometimes when these games are so bloated in their open world, I'm like, it almost detracts me from it. Cause I'm like, I want to move on to something else. Like, I know I'm going to love this, but I want to find something else I love too. So that's my main issue with Rebirth, is really just the aimless wandering. But I am going to try. And I think it's just going to be one I chip away longer over time and eventually I beat it. It's not really like, I'm not like, I need to play this right now, right after we're done this call, like it doesn't have that for me where I am right now. So but yeah, that PS5, I knew right away. I was like, I need to get it for Rebirth. Like, I'm so tied into the story. Let's go. And no regrets there, even if I'm not exactly on the like, oh my god, this is the best game ever train right now. The other system would be the Virtual Boy, like that red thing, the VR
Virtual
thing
Boy,
for Nintendo. There's a really good Wario game on it, and that's why I bought
the
that
one
too.
thing I've ever heard good about the Virtual Boy is the Wario game was good.
Yeah, so that I bought it partially. The reason why it wasn't my first answer is because I bought it partially because I am a collector, and as I mean, people know that it's on streams. I have a lot of stuff behind me. This is just lifelong collection. I love collecting stuff in video games. But I really want to play through that whole Wario game, so I do have it, and I started it, and it's cool, and that's the only reason to own that thing. So no regrets on that one either. Although it does hurt your eyes quite a bit, I will say that.
Do you know what that one is called?
I have it somewhere. I don't remember. It's like a Wario Land game or something. I don't remember the exact title, but there's only one on the system.
Okay.
So yeah, but and I also got like a tennis game for it that was kind of cool too. And
That's the one Virtual Boy game I played at a console station at Blockbuster. They had a Virtual Boy set up, and I played that tennis game.
Yeah, it's not bad. Like it's just like the Virtual Boy is so cumbersome and weird to like hang out with. It has a stand similar to this mic, right? Like this mic has a weird stand.
I never even thought of it as like people consider it like a portable console, like a Game Boy. I'm like, I never considered it as a portable thing because like that is not something you really want to take with you anywhere, and you need a table to play it.
Yes, it was a portable headache simulator. That's what it was.
Exactly. It's like the controller is like a really garbage version of the N64 controller and just infinitely worse. And then the battery that's plugged into the headset is like so top heavy and weird. So yeah, I like that thing, and there's no regrets for me buying it because I feel kind of cool owning one. I'm like, yeah, I want a Virtual Boy, and once in a blue moon I'll plug it in. But
it's called Virtual Boy Wario Land, and it has a retro achievement set.
How? Who's doing it? There's probably like 0.
The achievement set is not written by dude.
That's crazy that anyone would even build that, because it's like, who's playing this game? But yeah, those are the two systems for me, and no regrets on either one. I know the PS5 has the whole like, there's no games, but it's my Tekken 8 machine, it's my Final Fantasy Rebirth machine, and a lot of other things.
Flame Age is with you, saying I love the Virtual Boy. That was a good Wario game.
Yeah, I haven't beat it yet, but I want to get to it.
We got a couple others showing up in chat. Nerd Takes is here saying, what's up, everyone? What's up, Jay? Good to see you. Hope you're doing well tonight. And
hey, Jay.
What's up, Nerd File? That is Nerd Slap. What's up, Nerd Slap? Hope you're doing well. Getting ready for MegaCon. Good to see you as always. And Jason's answer is he loves his Xbox One. He got it for Killer Instinct. And he would happily do it again because he loves Killer Instinct that much. So, and Static is saying that he got a Switch for Breath of the Wild and never again. Loves the game, but just not worth it. Similar, that made me think of kind of. I got a Switch almost solely for Metroid Dread, but there were other games that I wanted as well. Like I want to play Metroid Prime Remastered, and Smash Ultimate, and there's other other Switch games that I want that I don't have yet. But the main game I got it for was Dread, but there was more than one, so I couldn't say Switch exactly, but it was close. Oh, and Canadian saying I bought a PS4 Pro just for Final Fantasy VII Remake and Ghost of Tsushima. So
And it's so
those
worth
are some
it,
good
right?
games.
Like, those are 2 really solid games. That's what I love is that you can find, like, 1 or 2 games nowadays, like, this is worth it just based on the price of everything. I don't know.
If a lot of those PlayStation games hadn't come to PC, I probably still wouldn't have bought one yet, but I would still very much be considering like getting a PS5 for things like Ghost of Tsushima and like God of War.
Yeah, that's the big challenge too, right? Because in my mind, even though I was like, yeah, they'll probably start putting Sony games on PC, I just didn't care because I like to play on console more. But for
Me
people
too.
who like PC, what's the point of buying a console just for one game when you know your PC is going to inevitably get the game, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's like I've got an Xbox because that's my platform of choice. I'm not going to buy it if a game is on PlayStation and only on PlayStation. I really want to play it. I would consider, but since they're bringing them all to PC, I'm not going to get another console for those. I'll just get them on my PC because my PC can handle it. But
Yeah, I'm with you, man.
I'd prefer to play it on a console, but I'm not going to buy a whole console for that when it's coming to PC. But now, if it wasn't on PC, I would very much consider it. So, Carl, what about you? Do you ever get a console for a single game?
Yeah, I actually have. It's the Nintendo DS and the 3DS.
Okay. What'd you get that for?
Obviously, Pokemon.
Ah, okay. Which Pokemon was it for each of those?
Diamond and Pearl and X and Y.
Okay, Diamond and Pearl for DS and X and Y for 3DS?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't start getting into more handheld collecting until a lot later in life. But yes, those were the only games that I ever bought the DS and the 3DS for, and basically every console that was a handheld with Pokemon. Because I never really played too many other games besides Pokemon on my handhelds when I was a kid. It was the only exceptions were like Mario Kart on the Game Boy Advance and the Phoenix Wright games on the DS.
Okay. Yeah,
those were happy coincidences.
Okay. Yeah, I know how much you love your Pokemon, so that definitely makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
So, and one other that I wrote down, I didn't buy it at launch. I bought it many years later. It was not even that much longer. There wasn't even that much time after I bought it until the Xbox 360 came out. But I bought the original Xbox for Halo. Because that was when I was in high school, and that's like all we played. I didn't even need my own Xbox because everyone else had it, and we were always going over each other's houses. So I didn't have an Xbox for the longest time. Of like one of my buddies who had one is like, "Hey, I'm going to sell my Xbox. You want to buy it?" And I'm like, "Sure, I'll buy it." So I bought it just for Halo. There were other stuff I ended up playing on it that I loved, but the reason I bought it was for Halo.
I'm surprised that Halo wasn't the reason I bought my original Xbox, but I ended up getting it, and I was playing Topspin and Amped for the longest time because that's what came with it. And I was like, I love tennis. This is so fun. And then, of course, I played Halo later in life. But yeah, it's just so funny because everyone I know bought an Xbox for Halo, and I was the only person who was just like, well, I'm just, getting all the game consoles. Why not? Sure, I'll get an Xbox, and I love it.
I was just thinking about it last night because I don't have my Xbox anymore. And I was like, what happened to it? I don't remember trading it in. Because I remember going and picking up the 360 because I got it when it was still in, you basically couldn't find it anywhere. I was like calling every GameStop in my area like every day saying, hey, you got a 360? You got a 360? Because I ended up getting it in February of 06. They came out in November of 05. But I don't remember whatever happened to my original Xbox. I don't remember selling it. I don't remember trading it in, but I don't have it anymore. I have no idea what happened to my original Xbox.
Weird, yeah. Maybe you just did you move maybe and lose it in a move or something?
I don't think so. I did move around a lot because I went off to college and then I came back. Then I went into an apartment, but I don't remember ever losing anything in a move.
You probably just misplaced it somewhere. Like for me, I have a Spider-Man limited edition PS4, and I've been racking my brain. I'm like, where is it? Because we just don't use it much. We have the PS5 to play PS4 stuff. I'm like, I don't know where it is, but I have it and I love it, and it's my pride and joy. And I hope it's not gone, and it shouldn't be, but I just don't know where it is.
I've got a couple other things. Like I know I have it, but I don't know where it is, and I can't find it anywhere because once I find it, it'll go back here. But yeah, I don't remember what happened to my original Xbox. I was thinking about last time. I have no idea what I did with it.
I know where mine is.
So, fortunately, I only have one game that is not backwards compatible. So I only have one game that I have no way of playing right now, and that is the farthest left one up there, which is the Path of Neo game, which is unfortunate because it's the best Matrix game. But
They didn't bring it to Steam or anything?
oh, it might be. So I
would check GOG even
and
see if they brought it up there, maybe.
I've never looked, but I've got the game. I just have no hardware to play it on because all my other Xbox games, original Xbox games, were all backwards compatible. So that's the only one I don't have the ability to play anymore. And I want to play it again because it was a good game. Another good movie-based game. Let's see here. It does not look like it is on Steam. Oh, maybe I'll go on the
wish list.
I was just gonna say maybe I'll go on GOG and put it on that wish list that people are doing right now.
Yeah, exactly.
So, all right. So, and 120. All right. Let's see here. So, next item on the agenda. I wrote this down on my list of questions a couple of years ago when my Xbox Achievement Buddies, the podcast Achievement Hunting 101, talked about this. And then I completely forgot about it until Carl had Filter on. I'm like, oh yeah. And so I added to it. So originally on the Achievement Hunting 101 podcast, they were talking about I think it was a Ghostbusters DLC that was it was a crossover DLC of Ghostbusters in the Power Wash Simulator game. I could be getting what the crossover was, but it was a crossover of some other franchise, and they did it into Power Wash Simulator. I was like, oh, that's a good question. What is a game that you would like to see some other franchise do a crossover DLC with? So when they were talking about it, I was thinking, just because they were talking about Power Wash Simulator, and I was like, I've never even played Power Wash Simulator, but if I was to do a crossover DLC for Power Wash Simulator, it'd be Mass Effect. You got all the cool vehicles that would be cool to Power Wash, like the Normandy and the Hammerhead and the Mako, and God forbid the Tempest and what was the Nomad. Those are the vehicles from Andromeda, but Carl and had Filter on, and he was talking about Dave the Diver, and they've had a couple of crossover DLCs. They had a Godzilla crossover DLC, and they've now had a Balatro crossover DLC as well. So those are kind of the inspirations for the question. So I was curious, what would be a crossover DLC you'd like to see get added to a game that you like? So when Carl and Filter were talking about it, since they were talking about Dave the Diver, I would thought a perfect crossover DLC would be to crossover DLC for Dave the Diver would be to add in Subnautica, since I freaking love Subnautica so much. I thought it would fit perfectly in the Dave the Diver universe. So curious from you guys. I've got a couple other answers as well, but that's kind of the first thing I thought of when Carl and Filter were talking about it. So what's a crossover DLC you'd like to see added to a game? So, Carl, since it was kind of from your show with Filter, why don't you kick us off on this one?
I would like to see for Monster Hunter Wilds crossover with Onimusha.
Okay.
I feel like that one is kind of overdue because Monster Hunter also has really fun crossovers. World obviously had a crossover with The Witcher. And Street Fighter. Also had a crossover with Street Fighter, Resident Evil. They also have older ones too, where they had crossovers with Yu-Gi-Oh! And Metroid and all these other different franchises out there. Monster Hunter usually has a good one. Rise, they had Amaterasu to a skin for your dog that even had the Okami run, and they left like a trail of flowers and stuff. Very fun attention to detail. So I feel like Onimusha, since Rise is not Rise, Wilds is coming out at the end of this month, and they've pretty much announced all these Onimusha games that are coming relatively soon. I feel like it's time. They could do some fun weapon combinations or a skin to have Samanosuke or someone else like that too. But yeah, I would say probably a surprise one would definitely be interesting to see. Maybe like a Yakuza crossover for like Majima or something like that. Maybe some fun stuff like that.
Okay, cool. Yeah, another one that I thought of. This already exists, but the game is basically dead now. But Exoprimal did one with Street Fighter, and they basically had mechs that looked like Ken and Ryu. While we're talking about Capcom, but cool. So Onimusha crossed over with Monster Hunter
Wild.
Wild. That's the one that's coming out this month, right?
Yes.
All right. Oh, and Jason's saying Capcom will probably do something like that next year. That would make a lot of sense. So cool. All right. And Kate, do you have a crossover DLC you'd like to see?
Kind of had to rack my brain for this a little more because I get nervous when there's crossover DLC when I see things like Fortnite where they just kind of pop in the character, but there's no actual like character charm to it. So I'm like,
That's a good point. Yeah,
there's
I didn't even think about Fortnite, but they crossed over with literally everything. But it's not really crossover. That's basically just like skins. It doesn't like change how the game plays at all.
But I'm hopping into this with good faith that they just honor it properly and well done and everything. So I'm not going to worry about that. But the two I thought of was like a Yakuza Shenmue crossover would be very interesting. If it hasn't happened already, I don't know because there's so many Yakuza games I'm losing track. But I thought that would be kind of interesting. And then the other
So
one,
I know Shenmue is like very niche. Would that be right?
yeah. Shenmue was my like Yakuza before Yakuza. I don't know. For me,
Okay.
it's
So
just
you're a
always
fan of the
been
Shenmue
there.
then?
Yeah, I love Shenmue.
Okay.
There
I know
is-
it's got some troubled development history, if I remember from what I've heard.
Yeah.
You do get your Yakuza Shenmue crossover in Project Cross Zone 2.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah. See, my brain always glosses over that because I'm like, you know my opinion on it already, Carl. Where I'm just like, this game was like too much in one. It's almost like Fortnite, but calling it like Fortnite is insulting because it's not even close. The other one, and this is probably predictable from me, is I really want to see Soul Calibur crossover with Dead or Alive. And there was a rumor back with Soul Calibur 2, it was supposed to happen that instead of Hayachi, we were supposed to get a Dead or Alive character. That was one of the characters pitched, and we didn't. It might have been for Xbox, actually. It might have been instead of Spawn, because I think, yeah, Dead or Alive was exclusive to Xbox at the time. So it would have replaced either one of that. It might have been like Cloud or something for PS2 and then Xbox instead of Spawn. It might have been like a Dead or Alive girl. But I would love to see like Ivy Valentine be in like the newest Dead or Alive, or like, you know, vice versa, bring over some of the girls, like bring over like Kasumi or someone that's like a mascot for the series, and Helena, who's less so, but she's important for, but like just bring over some of the girls because I think that would work super well with the style and everything. But yeah, that's kind of where my brain went to, is like I'm not really a fan of crossovers unless they're like super well done and totally make sense. And yeah, fighting games, I love to see it in fighting games. Give me more of that crossover, all sorts of fighting games together, but otherwise I'm not huge on it.
Do you? I know you talk about this character, but I've never actually asked if you actually like the character of Nicole in DOA 4.
Oh yeah, I love that she's in it. It's great. It's such a like the thing that's so beautiful about DOA 4 is that it's so cute, and it's like congrats on the Xbox 360 launch, and you can just tell that they're so excited for Microsoft. And then yeah, they have Nicole in it, and yeah, I love her. I mean, you only get to play her in the like extra modes. You don't get to play her in arcade or anything, so you don't
Okay, I did not know that.
Yeah, you don't like know a whole lot about her besides her being in the armor and you know that kind of stuff. But it's cool. It's cool.
For anyone who's doesn't know what we're talking about, Nicole is the Spartan from Halo that's in DOA 4. So
With the biggest bust size. I always like to share that little factoid. She's got the biggest bust size, but you never see them because she's in the suit. So
Flameade is saying a Marvel Rivals DC crossover would be crazy. That would be pretty cool. I doubt we'd ever see that, but I know that'd make a lot of people happy. So, and Jason said, I'm waiting for everyone from Shenmue and Yakuza to join the new Virtua Fighter.
I'm excited for that too. I want Virtua Fighter.
So as for myself, this one sort of already exists, but it's not really. So one thing I haven't played this game yet, but it is on my to-do list, and I'm now that it's basically a completely different game than it was when it launched. I'm pretty sure I'm really gonna like it, but I'm gonna be playing No Man's Sky at some point, and I thought it'd be really cool to have a crossover with Mass Effect, and that does already exist because I've had No Man's Sky on my to-do list for a while. So once I recover my completion percentage and I start all my hundreds of backlog games, No Man's Sky is going to be one of them. And back in November, since that's in 7-day, I saw something about, hey, there's a crossover with Mass Effect and you can get the Normandy in No Man's Sky. I was like, what? I'll start the game right now and go get it. And I looked into it. You can get the Normandy, but it's just a ship that exists in your fleet. You can't do anything with it. You can't go inside it. You can't fly it. It's just there to look at. So it does nothing. So I was like, well, that sucks. They should do a proper crossover where you can actually use the Normandy as your ship and be inside it and fly it and stuff. So that is one of my answers, is do a proper Mass Effect crossover with No Man's Sky, since what already exists doesn't really count. So I mentioned Subnautica across Dave the Diver. I think Subnautica would fit in Dave the Diver better than Dave the Diver would fit in Subnautica, because Subnautica is survival and you're isolated on a planet by yourself, whereas you could take like the creatures and the vehicles from Subnautica and put them into Dave the Diver. I think that would make more sense. Another one that I was looking, I might have missed some because I was going through a bunch of games and I was writing down ideas I came up with today. And then I used OneNote for my notes and it just decided not to save. And so I came back to it like literally like 30 minutes before we started the stream, and all the crossover DLCs ideas I'd come up with disappeared. So I went through my list again, hoping that it would jog my memory. And I wrote down a bunch of them, but I might have missed some. So I was not happy with OneNote today because it lost my notes and I had to go back, and I think I got them all, but I might have missed one or two. But a couple others that I wrote down that I thought would be cool is a Grounded crossover with, this is a major throwback to the 90s, but crossover with Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Oh my God, that's such a good idea.
It fits perfect.
That would sell me on the game. That's awesome.
Since it's already a game where you play, as a regular person, just, shrunken down in a backyard. So ants are huge and you fight spiders, they're just regular spiders, but they're huge because you're tiny. That would fit in perfect with Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. I don't really know exactly how that would work, but I think it would be a perfect fit. Kind of like how Sea of Thieves did like crossovers with like Pirates of the Caribbean and stuff. It's a perfect fit. And the last one I wrote down here, it didn't go very well, but I know the company boys just played this last week, was The Ascent. Would be a perfect crossover.
I was there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Carl was there too. I was like, I thought Carl was there, but I wasn't sure.
What
but
happened?
Ascent.
Everything failed.
Oh, like the game just wasn't working?
Oh, yeah. I crashed so many times on us.
That game has a lot of
that
technical
sucks.
issues when you're trying to play in co-op. So
Well, it was
that's why
made by
I played
Polish people, so it makes sense.
I played it entirely solo because of that. And it was okay. I like the world that they built for The Ascent better than anything else. It would have been more fun in co-op, but I just heard that the co-op is busted. And, them playing it, the company boys playing it, and Carl definitely confirmed it. But it would be a perfect setting for a crossover with Cyberpunk.
I don't know anything about the game, so it's hard for me to comment, but I think Cyberpunk could definitely do a lot of crossovers.
So, because The Ascent is, is a cyberpunk setting where people have all sorts of like mods and stuff, but it's a co-op twin stick shooter, isometric, kind of, and it looks really good. It's a really pretty game as well. So you could throw in like abilities or weapons or characters from Cyberpunk into Ascent as a crossover DLC. So I thought that'd be a pretty cool idea. So yeah, those are some ideas I had for some crossover DLCs. I've got a couple other DLC related questions for future episodes of Party Chat. But any other ideas that popped into your heads before we move on to our next topic?
No.
Alrighty. So, with that, we will move on to a topic that Carl suggested, since we've got our resident Canadian on the panel. Talking about our favorite Canadian developers, and the way that Carl put it on his tweet this afternoon was really funny. Something about the trade war's over, and now we can import K without having to pay extra for it. I thought that was funny.
That's why we waited to bring me on, so we could wait until the import tax was down, right?
Yes, exactly.
So, Carl, since this was your question, I think we're probably going to have the same answer. But go ahead.
No, we're not.
Oh, alrighty. Well, then let me know what your favorite Canadian developer is.
Obviously, it used to be BioWare. That's why I have to say it used to be.
Yeah.
Right now, I was just thinking about other Canadian developers. There's like a few that like have my interest like peaked, but I wouldn't say they're my favorite. But there is one from the good old city of Toronto, and the studio head is actually a Mexican guy. That is Drinkbox Studios out of Toronto.
I've heard that name. I couldn't tell you any of the games from that studio
Yes, you could.
Off the top of my head. But I'm sure you mention it. I will know what games you're.
Guacamelee.
Oh, I love Guacamelee. I didn't realize that was from Canada.
Yes, Guacamelee, Severed, Attack of the Blob, and Nobody Saves the World are the games from Drinkbox Studios.
Okay. That's what, yeah, it's definitely Guacamelee for me on why I recognize it. I don't know of Severed. I've heard of Nobody Saves the World, but I haven't played it. And then what was the other one that you mentioned?
It's Attack of the Blob, I think it is. Tales from Space, Mutant Blobs Attack. That's the exact name.
Okay.
That's the one I haven't played from them.
But yeah, the Guacamelee games are great. I like the first one better than the second one, but they're both good.
I think the first one's a better party game. The second one's just a better game.
Okay.
That's my opinion.
Fair enough. So,
but yeah, that's my favorite studio from Canada right now. Very fun indie studio, very fun games. They kind of range between like really good to just all right to good. Nobody Saves the World has been just all right. I didn't give that one a fair shake, so I'm not going to count that one. But Guacamelee 1 and 2 are super solid games, and
absolutely,
if you haven't played them, you should check them out. They're available pretty much on everything, even the Vita, if you are still one of the Vita truthers out there.
And they go on sale for super cheap. You can get like a bundle of both of them for probably like $5.
Yes, and they do have physical copies if you're a physical collector as well.
And they've got lots of great Easter eggs to a lot of other franchises.
Yes, great Metroidvanias, right?
Yes. So, yeah, for anyone who doesn't know Guacamelee, you're a luchador who gets his powers from his mask, and it's a Metroidvania. And, it's wackiness, and it's got a really almost like a paper-like art style.
Yeah, it's got like that very Sugar Skull art style. That's what I like to call it.
Okay.
I like that your character is called the Chosen Juan. Yes. That's what I like about it even more.
Your character's name is Juan.
I just love it so much too because I just remember I know the girl who works at who used to work at IGN. I don't know, and I used to listen. Her name was Miranda Sanchez. She was like, this game kind of feels racist, and it's just like the guy who runs the studio is a Mexican. So it's like he's the one that like decided all this stuff. So that just made me laugh even more because we had like offended California Mexican going up against like Mexican man from Toronto saying like, hey, wepa, we don't care.
So, well, good pick. Yeah. So, no surprise. I know they haven't really had a great track record recently, but BioWare, Mass Effect is still my favorite franchise of all time, and Mass Effect 3 is my single favorite game of all time. They haven't done a lot of good stuff lately, especially with Failguard, but BioWare is still my favorite Canadian developer. No surprise. I had to look up a list of like Canadian developers. A few of them I had heard of, but I wouldn't be able to tell you any of their games off the top of my head. So I had to go look into some of them. I was like, I recognize this name and I recognize this name. Let me go see what games they did, but none of them lived up to Mass Effect. So obviously mentioned KOTOR as well earlier. Great game. I know I haven't played it, but I think Carl, you said, and most people who have played it, I think say that Jade Empire was a really great game.
Jade Empire is a great game, yes.
Yeah.
Very unique, very special type of game. It's sad that we never got a second one.
But I also played Star Wars The Old Republic. And
that wasn't the Canadian studio, though.
Oh, that's right. That was the
Austin.
Texas, Austin, yeah. That's right. Still, it's from BioWare, so it counts. But yeah, so BioWare, unsurprisingly, my answer for favorite Canadian dev. So, what is your favorite Canadian dev from your homeland? Okay.
It's so depressing because our glory days are kind of done right now. Like it's hard, but I'm gonna give a few shout outs. Obviously, for me, my favorite one would be BioWare as well. I consider that one of our greatest Canadian exports. We did awesome with BioWare. Yes, it's falling a bit now, but I'm not as black pilled on the new Mass Effect as other people are. I actually think there's some hope for it. So I
I
don't
have more
know.
hope for Exodus than I do the next Mass Effect, but I'll give it a chance regardless.
Trying to destroy that game too, by the way.
I hope not.
I mean, I don't know. I just feel like there could be some spark that hits someone and they maybe fix it, but
Pop culture mechanics. Did someone say Canada? What's up, pop culture
Yeah.
mechanics?
Hey, Pop, how was your stream, buddy? I hope it was good.
We're currently talking about our favorite Canadian game developers. So
But yeah, I have to give the crown to BioWare regardless, but there are sorry, did I interrupt something you were saying?
Oh, I was just gonna say it was Carl's question, but we got another Canadian on the panel, so want to
He's just filibustering. Don't worry about it. Okay.
Hear the
Try to fill that 2-hour slot.
Canadian's favorite Canadian developer. So if you have any others, I would be glad to hear them.
Yeah, so obviously I have to give it to BioWare. And I still love BioWare. I know that they've really screwed up. And again, that's me saying a nicer word than what I want to say. But they did so many good things, and it's hard for me not to love them. And the other one I want to give credit for, which is sadly shut down, is United Front, which did Sleeping Dogs. And they're out of here, sadly. But we might get a sequel. You never know, because apparently they're doing a movie with that one Marvel guy that I really hate, Simu Liu or whatever.
Oh,
And,
that racist?
He literally is. Oh my god, he's so annoying. But
Yes,
anyways,
he's an
yeah.
idiot.
So they might even make a sequel if that movie does well, if that all works out. So who knows? Maybe they'll revive a new company, bring it back to Canada. That'd be great.
I don't know anything about Sleeping Dogs, but I've heard the name a lot. Like I got it mixed up for the longest time with Watch Dogs, and those are two drastically different games, right?
Yes.
All right. What is? I'm assuming both of you guys have played it because that seems like right up your alley from what I've heard about it, Carl. What are you?
Because they're Asians in it.
Yeah. So what is both of your guys' take on the Sleeping Dogs game? Or game, since you said there's only one.
You know what it reminds me of a little bit, and this is gonna sound weird, but it kind of reminds me of like True Crime Streets of LA. Did you guys ever play that game back in the day?
Yes, and I
did
completely
not,
agree with
but
you.
I know of it.
Yeah, very good comparison.
It feels like a spiritual successor to that kind of game, because you get to play as like an undercover cop, and it's like got like a little bit of the overtop like kung fu hustle kind of vibe to it, and everything else like that. I've played probably about like 6 hours of it though, so I kind of was like I enjoyed it, but I just haven't picked it back up. I'm probably going to restart it and do it again.
You're accurate. Like if you enjoy the Yakuza or like Sifu, those kinds of games, like you'll find enjoyment in Sleeping Dogs. And unfortunately, another underrated game. People loved it, but it just didn't do well enough for that studio to stay afloat.
Which one are you saying is underrated? Sleeping Dogs or
Sleeping Dogs, yeah, 100%.
Okay.
It's a game that people are like, yeah, I've heard of that. I heard that game was decent, but like at the time, it did not sell nearly enough to justify them staying open. Just sad.
Yeah, I think I've heard it a bunch on lists of like underrated games.
The other one I want to give credit to is we've had a lot of good Warhammer stuff come out of Relic here as well.
I didn't know Relic was Canadian.
Yeah, I'm assuming they're in other parts of the world too, but we do have a Relic
right.
studio in Canada, and they've done a lot of like really good work towards Warhammer. So I'm not a huge Warhammer person, but I know all of my friends in personal life that are big Warhammer guys. They're like, yeah, they did some cool work towards it. So I want to give them credit for that too. I think they laid off everyone at Relic here now. I'm pretty sure it's like pretty much gone, if not skeleton. So like I said, we all know that the layoffs are huge in the industry right now. And yeah, sadly, that's another company that got hit, but they all did great work. There's a lot of great work that came out of Canada. And like the one I don't really want to give credit to, but Ubisoft does deserve a little bit of credit for what they've done for Canadian gaming too. Whether or not I like it, they've done a lot there too. So
yeah, there's like a couple studios in Canada I'm kind of still watching. Obviously, Compulsion Games.
That's South of Midnight, right?
Yeah, they're south of Midnight. I've got high hopes for that game in terms of like it looks good enough to warrant success for the future of that studio. Contrast, I hear, is really good. Never played it.
I liked Contrast, but I like puzzle platformers. So,
and then of course there was We Happy Few, which is got a really good, interesting story idea, but it just feels like they had no idea what they wanted to do with gameplay. I hear from a lot of people who played it in early access that they changed the game up completely when it came to 1.0 release, which I think is interesting. But the biggest knock against them is that they're French Canadians, so obviously they lose a point every time because they're French. And then, ironically enough, that really weird visual walking sim that I played on my first Spotlight, that 1000 X Resist, actually is based out of Vancouver, that studio. It's a bunch of immigrants from, I think, Hong Kong, I believe. And they opened up a video game studio in Vancouver. And there's a lot of their story is kind of reflected in that first game that they made.
Cool. So,
dog's attacking me. 1 second.
So, yeah, when I was looking up list of Canadian developers, because other than BioWare, I couldn't even name any off the top of my head. But I did see Relic in that list. I'm like, that name sounds familiar. So I expanded that one to see some of their games. I saw Warhammer.
Yeah,
like,
they're Sega.
why.
Like they did some stuff. I mean, I can go way back. There was a Disney studio that used to be here, and they worked on some random games too. Like we've had them come in and out pretty much. So we'll have studios open up, and then they'll be like, "Yeah, no, we don't want to be here. See ya." We had
Capcom
Rockstar
Vancouver.
North. Yeah, Capcom. We had Rockstar North for a bit. I think they might have touched Bully, but I'm just paraphrasing because I don't remember exactly the era. But we did have Rockstar North for a bit. And yeah,
Okay.
you're right. We did have Capcom here for a little bit too. I think that's long gone now. We have like a company that works on mobile games that's really popular, Kabam. They work on like tons of mobile video games, like all the Marvel stuff and everything. And they're considered good in the mobile space, but to me, it's all slop.
Who plays
The
mobile
Coalition, Vancouver.
Coalition. Okay, I definitely know that name. What?
Oh
Gears of
yeah,
War.
Gears of War was here too. Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Okay.
Which
That's
one
forgot
was
about
though?
that.
I'm not big on Gears of War, so I don't know which one. Was it 5?
4? I think it was 4
4?
and 5.
4 or 5, and the tactical one, and E-Day.
Gears Tactics.
Yeah.
Oh, they're working on E-Day. Okay.
Yeah, they're working on E-Day. I completely forgot they're Vancouver.
All right. Definitely worth mentioning. I'm not a
just
huge fan of Gears, but I do like the Gears games.
And we pump out like most of the sports games in Canada too, like the FIFA stuff. That's considered like high grossing for soccer fans. People love those FIFA games. I can't deal with them.
Yeah. Sports ball.
I think we do like the mocap in Canada as well for like all the athletes and stuff too. So like there's like a special studio where they have all the athletes come in for those sports games, and that's where they'll motion capture everything.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, isn't it like all the Ubisoft, like weren't a lot of the Assassin's Creed games made in Quebec?
Yes.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Although I still think of Ubisoft as a whole French, since that's where their headquarters are.
They're French. They always lose a point.
Yeah, but I guess they would qualify since they do have some Canadian studios, but they got studios all over. So I didn't consider Ubisoft, even though Ubisoft has a ton of games that I really love. So I didn't consider them for this one. Since they're
hold on, I'm calling foul here because you did consider BioWare Austin as the Canadian studio. So there you go.
Oh, well, that's because I forgot that it wasn't their.
I'm just saying this is your words. We're playing your card. Here's your yellow card, sir. Here's your warning.
All right. So, pop culture mechanics say EA Vancouver did lots of hockey.
Yes, hockey, FIFA, and also UFC, I believe, is also there.
Okay. All right. Well, for our last topic for the night is the next year in line. So last time we talked about favorite game in 1999. So last topic for today is our favorite game from the year 2000. So there are some good games from that year. One of my favorite games of all time for many years. But I'll go ahead and let you guys go first. So Carl, what are a couple of your favorites from the year 2000?
1 second, I gotta look this up.
All right. Katie, you got anything?
Yeah, you made this tragically hard for me to pick one. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2, I believe, was that year.
I put that on my list.
Let's see what else. DOA 2 came out. That's not my favorite version, but it is the one that came out that year. So that's another one. Marvel vs. Capcom 2 has to be my answer because I was so obsessed with that game when I was younger that if I like knew 20 years later that I wouldn't say that answer, I'd probably like be mad at myself then. So that has to be my answer because I was just so addicted to that game at the time. And then I believe Majora's Mask was also then as well.
That's on my list as well.
So I think that's kind of where I sit is like those are my favorites, and I'm sure I've missed some. I think Diablo 2 was also during that too.
I think I saw that as well.
Just like crazy.
But I never played Diablo, so it's not on my list.
Yeah, so I guess those. Is there a Paper Mario?
Yes.
Was that the first Paper Mario?
Yes.
Yeah. See, there's so many good games that year. I'm going off memory. I'm sure I'm missing so many, but yeah,
that's pretty good.
That's what I would say.
You got like 4 out of my. Oh wait, 1, 2. Oh,
what was it like? There must have been
3.
Dreamcast.
3 out of my 5.
Dreamcast stuff, like would there have been Crazy Taxi around there? Because I think Sonic was 99, so I think Crazy Taxi might have been 2000. Sonic Adventure 1 is either 99 or 2000, and then yeah, it was like the Dreamcast era. So I feel like there must be.
Oh yeah, it's saying Crazy Taxi was in the arcade in 99, but released on Dreamcast in 2000, so and was the third best-selling Dreamcast game in the U.S.
Yeah, Crazy Taxi for sure.
Crazy Taxi. Oh,
I mean,
good pick.
That's a solid list, I think, on my end. Those are games I still love to this day. So
Crazy Taxi, the only Dreamcast game I ever played.
It's so good.
Yeah.
So, you figure some out, yours out, Carl?
Obviously, I've said it before. Diablo 2 was the first PC game. One of my neighbors at the time, he let me borrow it and play it. So that's got to be up there as one of my favorites, but also came out on a Dreamcast, but I played it by way of Xbox, but I'll put this down here. Jet Set Radio!
Okay. I know.
Damn, that was that year too? Those. Oh, man. Yeah, Jet Set's go.
Oh, on Dreamcast, because I remember, I'm pretty sure it was a launch title on Xbox, but that didn't come out till 2001.
Yeah. No, yeah, Jet Set was so good. I need to see that come back.
It is. Yeah. It's going to be coming back.
Is that confirmed?
Yes. They showed it off at the Game Awards, I think, 2 years ago now.
Was that long ago?
Yeah, they showed a bunch of stuff, right?
Yep.
Why did I think that was a rumor? No, you're right. It probably was at the Game Awards.
It was like Crazy Taxi, Jet Set Radio, and like there was one other game.
It's like the Sega Resurgence thing that they've been doing the past few years. Yeah.
Yes.
The one that I don't think it was too. I think. Well, I guess now that it's 2025, it would be 2 years ago since it would have been in 2023. But it doesn't feel like it was 2 years ago. If it's the announcement you're talking about, the one that really piqued my interest was the revival of Shinobi. Was that the same announcement?
I don't think so. No.
Okay. Well.
Oh, there's been like two separate announcements. Was Shenmue in 2000 as well?
2001.
Damn it. Okay, yeah. There you go.
I feel like that was 2001.
Well, 2001. Shenmue would have been my answer.
All right.
I'm looking for Sailors.
On next episode of Party Chat, I'll shout out to Kay when we're talking about games, our favorite games of 2001, Shenmue.
Or was that 99?
That's the thing. My memory is so hazy with it because it's like 99 to 2003 was such a huge like time in gaming for me. Like so many of the games I love are within that.
1999.
First one was 99. Second one was 2001.
Yeah.
So missed by a year on both ends. So, and Nerd Take saying, yeah, Jet Set Radio Future was great. And Jason saying, yeah, Sega's making a comeback. So, so as for Carl, did you have any others you wanted to mention?
Nah, 2000 wasn't exactly the year for me.
Okay. So yeah, as Kay mentioned, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2, that was on my list. Majora's Mask is definitely on my list. I loved Majora's Mask. Didn't love it anywhere near as much as I love Ocarina of Time, but it's still a great game. And I'm looking forward to playing it again for the first time in forever for retro achievements, but I will be playing Ocarina of Time first. Another game that I really liked, and it's a very niche franchise and has been dead since, I don't know, like 2015. But my introduction to the franchise was on Game Boy Color, was Bionic Commando Elite Forces. I really liked that game. And then I really liked Bionic, but when they revived it on Xbox Live Arcade, Bionic Commando Rearmed. I mean, that was, many years later, but that was a great game as well. And then my favorite game from 2000 was my favorite game of all time for many years, and that was Perfect Dark. I freaking loved that game so much, and took everything that GoldenEye did and did it way better. So, and it's still
GoldenEye was better though.
No, Perfect Dark was better in every way than GoldenEye, and GoldenEye sold so many more copies, and that's what everyone talks about when talking about N64. When Perfect Dark was better in every way. GoldenEye is a great game, but Perfect Dark was better. So, shout out to Perfect Dark. I will take any chance I can to sing the praises of Perfect Dark.
I really love both.
I do. I love both as well, but yeah. So, all right. Well, I think that will about do it for tonight. So, we'll go ahead and give everyone a chance to say goodbye and plug what they got going on. So, Melee K, thanks for coming on again and saving my butt last minute. It was great to have you on again because it's been a while since you've been on Party Chat. So, what do you... Oh, and Pop Culture began saying, Perfect Dark even used the expansion pack. Yes, it's one of those games where you could play it without the expansion pack, but you were limited on what you could do. There was a chart that I remember I had, I think it was in Nintendo Power, of what you had, because you had access to the full game with the expansion pack, and had like what you could do on the other side if you didn't have the expansion pack. And I don't remember what it was, but I think it cut out a lot of the options in multiplayer. But I could be wrong about that. But yes, that was one of the expansion pack games. There was also, I think I got my expansion pack because it came with Donkey Kong 64. And there was a couple other games. There weren't a whole lot that required it, but Perfect Dark was one of them. So anyways, with that, Kay, what do you got going on? What do you want to plug?
Well, thanks for having me. I'm Melee K, one half of Melee Games. I'm sure you've seen James on the channel before, if you're a longtime watcher of the channel. And we just do all things gaming on our channel. We'll talk about gaming much like this, or we'll be playing video games, or suffering. Sometimes we suffer. I'm going to be suffering with Kingdom Hearts at the end of the month, and I'm not looking forward to that because I cannot stand the story in that game. But where you can find us, well, we're live right now at Melee Games. James is playing through Class of '09, which is a visual novel about the early 2000s, when all those girls would hang out in malls all the time and all the shenanigans they were up to. Other than that, two other things to mention. This Friday, we're doing our Melee Town Square. That happens once every 2 months. And this Friday's topic is going to be Batman. So movies, games, comics, any of it. You want to talk about Batman, you can come hop on and chat with us. It starts at 7 p.m. PST, and then we bring you guys on around like 8 p.m. PST. And then on the 18th, we're going to be doing a Halo Infinite Customs Night, which Dude is helping us with, Dude1286, who is also on this channel a lot. And we can fit up to 28 people in that event. So
wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, right now we've got 10 people. We still got plenty of room. So if you want to play some custom night Halo Infinite with us, that is February 18th. All you have to do is be in our Discord and let me know that you want to join. And that is all for me. Thank you again, guys.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. So I would rate it if I had the ability to, but I don't have the ability to because I recently found out you actually have to be monetized in order to raid someone, which is freaking retarded.
So weird, right? Yeah.
Like, why? You should be able to raid someone regardless of your monetization status. It's freaking stupid. But I was like, I'm watching the video. It says, go here and click this button. I go to it in my dashboard. The button's not there. And Horny Alpha's like, yeah, you have to be monetized. It wasn't there. Because it was right when he got monetized. He's like, yeah, once I got monetized, the button showed up. I'm like, that is retarded. So I can't raid, but I put the link to Melee's stream there. So when we're done here,
thank you for doing that.
Go raid Melee James playing Class of '09. So... all right. And Carl, what do you got going on?
Well, now that I'm the new CEO of Rumble, I don't know. I got so much to do, so much to fix from my predecessor. But all kidding aside, tomorrow, obviously, Neo, you're going to be back on with me, and Static's going to be joining me as well, and we're going to kind of be doing a whole new, different once a week gaming kind of talk show. I've talked to a few people and said that they have the carte blanche where if they just kind of want to stop in, talk about it too, it's kind of open. I've been doing a couple of those solo by myself, and this time Static said he kind of wanted to hop in, and I said, yeah, let's just give it a shot. Let's see how it goes. Besides that, Thursday, I might be streaming Monster Hunter Wilds. The beta, I think, comes back out on Thursday, so kind of curious to check that out. They put in private lobbies and stuff, so getting some people together. Jason, as I said before, if you're still there, if you'd like to hop on in, by all means, be a fun way to go. Friday, I will be doing a Hogwarts Legacy / Harry Potter retrospective with our good friend, Mr. Nerd Takes, here in the chat.
Hey.
And maybe one other person. She hasn't committed yet, but we'll see. But just right now, for sure, it will definitely be Nerd Takes and myself, and that will be on Friday. That will be 7 o'clock Central Time. And then Saturday, I actually have DEG mods coming on, and we're going to be talking about the whole modding scene. That one will be early. That will be noon Central for that one, only because of time zone differences between me and him.
That is awesome, by the way, Carl. Like the DG mods, they're doing some great stuff, and they're definitely combating what Nexus is trying to do, and actually giving people access to stuff. So that's awesome that they're that open, because I know they're really open on Twitter, but to even go on a show and chat with you, that's super cool.
Yeah, I've just tried to bring on people I think have something to say, I don't really know too much about the modding scene, but I feel like that's a really good thing to talk about. And just get other person's thoughts, I've been trying to reach out to a lot of people. Hopefully some more stuff's in the works. I got the rest of this month planned, but, end of the month, I'm going on vacation. So, like, the 28th, there won't be anything really coming on, So, from, like, March 1st to, I think, March 10th, I will be on vacation. So there won't be shows that week. So I'm starting to formulate stuff for obviously March, but time will tell. And I actually had a guest cancel, so that's why I had to push back the trial of Phil Spencer, which is something I definitely have been working on a lot too.
Yeah, it was supposed to be tomorrow night, but I'm pushing that to not this upcoming Saturday, but the Saturday after.
Yeah, the day after Valentine's Day.
Yes. So.
So that's all I really got to say here. Enough of me blabbering on like an idiot.
So yeah, as Carl mentioned, no Dude Souls tomorrow night because I'll be on Carl's channel, and I'm not exactly sure what we're going to be talking about, but it's always fun to just shoot the breeze. So Thursday night will be Dude and I together. We'll be doing our next episode of Achievement Chasers, talking about our achievement hunting over the course of January. So. And then next week's at this time on Tuesday will be the next episode of Top 5. We're ranking our favorite gaming waifus. So I know Carl said he wanted to be on that one. Let me see here. I don't think we have anyone else on the panel yet. So let me just verify. Yep, we don't have anyone else. So if anyone else wants to come on and rank their gaming waifus, let me know. That'll be next Tuesday at 6 o'clock Pacific. So that will do it for tonight. Again, Kay, thanks for coming on. Always a great time chatting with you, my favorite frenemy.
We get along. We found more that we agree on nowadays.
Yeah, we do. With a lot of stuff we disagree on, but we do have we've found more stuff that we agree on as well. So, but everyone in chat, thanks for hanging out for just over 2 hours now while we were talking about dumb video game stuff. It's always fun to talk about random video game topics, and glad to always see you guys in chat joining in and letting us know what your answers are as well. So that will do it for tonight. You guys all have a good one. We will see you all later, and we'll catch you next time. As always, in the meantime, game on.